Welcome to the future money. I know I've been out a week or so, but we're back on track, ready to give you real-time insights on tech stocks, crypto, emerging technologies before they dominate the headlines. I'm your host, Armando Pantoja, investor, futurist, and I'm your unfair advantage in a fast-moving world of investing. Now, every Wednesday at 5 o'clock, we break down the moves that the big players uncover. We uncover the big moves that the big players hide from you and Wall Street won't tell you. And we spotlight future trends that will build your wealth. Now, we got a lot to talk about today. We have a lot we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about NVIDIA. We're going to talk about some nuclear stocks. We have a lot to talk about today and a lot of great things. Now, back in 2022-23, I said that 24-25 would be the biggest year of your life, and it could possibly make you rich forever. And it seems to be playing out exactly as we said. So NVIDIA does have earnings coming up. Ethereum just crossed $1 billion ETF interest mark. Some people say it's the cleanest setup they've seen in years for a obvious breakout. XRP is holding momentum. $8 target is still in sight for this year. Cardano could be hours away or days away or hours away from triggering a golden cross and could jump 300%. NVIDIA has earnings coming up in a few weeks. More than chips, we're talking about China, we're talking about quantum computing, we're talking about the next phase of AI dominance. And then there's Palantir, quietly turning. It's one of the most important AI companies on the planet. Commercial revenue is exploding, just got a $10 billion Army contract. If you're tired of watching the market from the sidelines, this is your moment. This is where foresight meets finance. Let's dive in to future money. Now, one of the things that's happened in the last few hours that I want to touch on is that Google has just launched a crackdown on wallets. They make you have a banking license now to develop an app that either transfers Bitcoin or is a wallet for Bitcoin. They just banned any crypto wallet from the Play Store unless the developer holds a banking license or approved crypto licensure. Now, this is right in the face of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is supposed to be decentralized, no central player. And now we have Google acting as a regulatory agency and demanding that crypto wallet apps be licensed or they be registered like banks. Now, this is the opposite of what crypto was. And what I don't like about this is that Google shouldn't be in this position. Now, if we flash back to early 2019, the biggest crypto boom up to that point happened in late 2018. When we saw Bitcoin move for that year from 1,000 to 20,000, we saw Ethereum go from $50, $60, $70 all the way up to $1,400 that year. Ridiculous gains. A lot of people made a lot of money. And all of a sudden, in January of that next year, 2019, Google started banning crypto ads. Not only did Google did it, also Facebook did it. Also, all at once they started doing it. Now, what did that cause? In an early emerging market, that caused everybody to panic. And Google was one of the biggest drivers of that market decline that year. Now, Google shouldn't have that kind of power. They can't tell you they shouldn't be able to tell you. I know they can. And I know that that's part of being a business is that you can do, whatever you want within reason and within the law. But on the other end, there's also antitrust laws that says that one company can't have so much power over the system. Google has too much power now. Even though they've been broke up a little bit, they still have too much power. It's only two app stores, Apple and Google. There's no others, really. I'm sure there's others out there, but none that really matter. So Google does have a lot of power over the world of technology. So when they say something like this, it can hurt a lot of small companies. Now imagine if you were a small company, 5, 6, 7 developers, you're trying to make ends meet, and Google announces this. Your whole business model is destroyed. People don't realize this. Every time there's a law, every time there's regulatory changes, every time something happens in the news, somebody out there either makes or loses a bunch of money. And I feel sorry for a lot of those small wallet creators that now can't compete because they can't pay for money transmitter license. Now, back in the early days of crypto, I talked about this other day on my live. I got into Bitcoin in 2011. Now, in those early days, there were no charts you could look at. You couldn't go back 6 months and compare charts. There was none of that. It was the price that was today, and that was it. Because it wasn't yet seen as a financial asset. It was seen as a technology, which it will go back to being seen that way eventually. So in those days, I did not see, it didn't connect in my brain that Bitcoin was an investment to invest directly into. Now I saw the potential. I saw it as a currency. So what I did is I said, well, I'm gonna get on the technology side. If you go on the internet right now, you put in my name and put in Bitcoin. I was the first company in North America to accept Bitcoin as payments. It was called APAN Software. We had a software company. We accepted Bitcoin back in 2012 as payments, and it's still there. Just look it up. So what I thought back then is I believed that the money was actually in integrating websites and technology to accept the payments, and also I tried to put ATMs. Now, I heard a story from one of my friends at a Bitcoin conference that it was a guy in another state that made $60,000 a month per machine all over the state. I was like, man, the machines at the time were like $2,000 or $3,000, and I was going to buy them in Florida with them. But when I started to do that, I went to a lawyer, went to this, and I realized that you need a money transmitter license. Now, so me and my business partner went to get that. But now you don't need one for Florida. You also need a federal one because sometimes they cross state lines. So it ended up being $1 million just to get started. You needed a surety bond. You had to go get a money transmitter license from the federal government. And you also had to get a state one. And both of those required a bond in which you had to deposit money into an account and had to sit there. So it was over $1 million just to get involved in that. So at the time, I didn't have the money, so I couldn't get involved. What people don't realize is when Google and other companies do things like this, they start restricting the small man out of the business. Crypto was an industry in which anybody could make money, anybody could start. And now it's converting to a banks, big organizations, and big players type industry, which I don't like. But we can't do anything about it, I guess. But it's just the evolution of the current of the technology. But it's a worldwide impact. The policy affects not only the U.S., but the European Union, 13 other nations, put a lot of pressure on wallet developers to get licensed or they got to stop developing their apps. So it's very hard for a small developer. Remember, I come from software. So I know how a small developer would feel when they get something like this because it's difficult to get a banking license. It takes years and a lot of money. It's not easy. It's not like you just, like a driver's license, you just fill it out and show up. It's way more complex than that. You have to prove assets. You have to prove money. It's a lot that goes into that. So what you're doing is that it's almost on purpose, and I believe it's on purpose, is to remove crypto from the small man and make sure the big players have the power. Now, one of the things that was hard to anticipate with cryptocurrency, and I started anticipating a little earlier than everybody else, but when I first got into it, I thought that Bitcoin would change the world. It would put the power into the hands of the people. And now as I got older, I'm older now. It was over 10 years ago. I was in my 20s when I first got into Bitcoin. And I started to see how this has played out. That kind of blind ambition and hope I used to have, I think, died. I don't believe that no technology on earth can make people free except your mind. And the reason I say that is because in my life, I've seen two innovations that were supposed to make people free and make the world a more equal place. One was the internet. Now, for those who are as old as me, you remember back in the early days of the internet, they said that information superhighway. There would no longer be any people with information and people without it. Everybody would be super intelligent because we have access to information. There would be no more information hoarding that made some rich and some poor. Now, we've had the internet for what, 40 years, 30, 35 years, and it's still the same. Because what happened is that the big players took control, and now they control the internet. You can't even make a website. You can't make websites unless somebody puts it on for you. At the beginning of the internet, you could. I could have put a website that I hated chickens or whatever, hated some other race or whatever. Nobody could stop you from that. And I believe in freedom of speech, whether it's bad or good, it don't matter. All of it has to be out there. And what's happened now is you can't even do that because people have put themselves in position to control the internet. Now it's not like that. And I believe and I fear that this is the same thing that's happening with cryptocurrency, is that the big players are not going to lose power. So what they do is they cause you to be scared. They've done the same thing for years. They play on your emotions. They play on your fears. The same thing as the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire got so much passed, so many laws passed because they said, hey, we need to pass this law. The people responded negatively. They responded, well, if we don't pass this law, The barbarians are at the gate right now. We just saw them yesterday. Now, we have to pass this law to stop them from coming in. Once people heard that, all logic went out the window. Do whatever you can to keep us safe from the barbarians. And they did that for a century. Told the people the barbarians are coming, the barbarians are coming, the barbarians are coming. And they passed all these crazy laws. And eventually the barbarians did come and ransacked Rome. And that was the beginning of the end for Rome. But that was the end, I guess, the ransack, when the barbarians actually did ransack Rome. But kind of like the wolf, was it? The wolf, boy that cried wolf. But that's what happens, is that people, they use your fear and everything, your emotion against you. Same thing's happening with Palantir. Palantir has grown more than any other company in the last year. Safe company and not a penny stock. And they tell you that Palantir is evil. They tell you that Palantir is killing kids. They tell you that Palantir, so you will run away from it and be blind to Palantir so the rich, the elite, and the banks can control it. And then you'll forget that this even happened in 2 years. Same thing happened with Wayfair back in the day. Now, I want to talk about something else, but I need you guys to like the video, please, if you can. And also, if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. So if Google is willing to do this, don't you understand that they're willing to manipulate the price as well? All of crypto prices are artificially kept down. And that's just not XRP, that's everything. It's way too low. But the good thing about that is that eventually the price has to respond. It has to come back. So I need you guys to please like the video. We got 1,300 people in here today. We only got 45 likes, so I need more likes. And also, if you ever subscribe to the channel, please do so. Actually, we got 236 likes, which is still pretty good. So let's move on. Now, I want to talk about a huge Bitcoin prediction that happened the other day. Now, Cathie Woods has dropped a jaw-dropping prediction. She believes that Bitcoin will hit 2.4 million by the end of 2030, by the end of 2030. So almost a 20 times gain from where we're at today. Almost a 20 times gain. Making Bitcoin, in her view, the most explosive asset of this generation, even from today. But does that make sense? Or is she just saying that because she owns so much? We don't know. But I want to discuss it a little bit, and I want to discuss where Bitcoin could possibly go. Now, Cathie Wood said that she believes institutional adoption, global instability will drive Bitcoin to 2.4 million by 2030, 21 times from where we're at today. And a lot of times when we say these predictions, XRP to 1,000, Bitcoin to 2.4 million, Ethereum to 20, 30, 40,000, it's two things people leave out, adoption rates, and they also leave out inflation. Now, when I say XRP is going to 1,000, first the naysayers respond, and they say that's impossible because this amount of money, companies stupid reason, this money has to go in or whatever. And I say, but you're especially a Bitcoin maxi, which is ridiculous to me, is that I'll tell them XRP is going to 1,000. That's impossible, they'll say. And I say, don't the Bitcoin maxi say there's going to be massive inflation? If there's massive inflation, the dollars are worth less. So it takes more dollars to buy assets. So wouldn't XRP's price go up as well? They're so blind to that, they don't even see it. But I believe that $2.4 million could be attainable in a highly inflationary environment. Now, hopefully we don't go into that because that's going to be a lot more other problems other than Bitcoin. But I still think Bitcoin has a potential to go to 1 million about 2030, even if we discount inflation. So her thesis is that Bitcoin is digital gold. I'm going to add to that a little bit. I don't believe that Bitcoin is digital gold. I believe that it's a currency. I believe that we're in mid-game, right? Is that back when I first started with Bitcoin, it was a currency. And I think that what happened, especially with me, is that's how I got into investing in cryptocurrency. I realized that doing all this work, integrating websites, well, I would have made more money if I just would have bought the asset. And I stopped doing all that work. Now, not only did I do that, everybody else did too at the same time. So we realized that you make the most money just buying it and selling it later or just holding it. So what was really happening is we started to realize that Bitcoin was an undervalued currency, right? So that can be for 10, 15 years that we'll be investing in Bitcoin. And one day, and I was talking to one of my good friends the other day, one day Bitcoin will get to a point where it won't grow as much as it has. It will be 3, 4, 5% a year. It could be 10, 20 years. It could be 5 years. I don't know. One day, all of these currencies will come to an inflection point where they'll stop. The growth will stop, and it'll be more consistent over years. The halving won't have any effect. Nothing will have any effect. Small, like almost like a government bond, like small effects, but nothing to be of note. So I believe that one day Bitcoin will be a currency, and we'll use it as a currency. But we have a mid-period, a mid-game period up until then where the price will rise rapidly, along with XRP, along with Ethereum, all while we're trying to figure out what these currencies are worth to society. And then one day, once the value is figured out, remember, the more players get into an investment, the more derivatives, the more shorts and longs and all of these different things, we start to figure out what the real price of an asset is. Gold is one of the oldest assets in the world. It is the oldest asset. That's the reason why the price does not move that much, because everybody knows the value of gold. It's not so much confusion in what it should be valued at. Now it goes up slowly, and it has done for millennia, but it's still an asset that most people know how to value. Now, the new assets, crypto, Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, and all the other cryptos, we're still trying to figure out what they do and what they're going to do. It's still a lot of speculation. So that's where all the growth is going to happen. And one day we'll figure it out. And once we figure it out, the growth is over. There is no growth left. And all of these things that's when it returns back to being a currency, Bitcoin. XRP will return. It'll be almost like stable coins. They'll return to being a transfer of value. Ethereum will be a payment system for a worldwide computer. That's what all these things are supposed to be. And we are investing in them now speculatively because of their great potential. But one day it'll return to what they're all supposed to be. And maybe 10 years from now. It could be a long time. Like we always talk about, technology takes a long time to adopt. So what Kathy Wood says is that she sees it as digital gold. I have to disagree with that, but she sees Bitcoin becoming a digital version of gold. I believe it will be in the midterm, but by the time, let's say I'm 60, 65 or so, it will be a currency. But she predicted almost 7% of institutional capital will flow into Bitcoin. And she believes that the emerging markets, countries with failing currencies, like we've seen with El Salvador, people will start to turn to Bitcoin as a stronger long-term store of value. And I believe that's going to happen too. I believe that's what's going to really lead it to being a currency as well. These small emerging markets, these countries with crazy presidents, crazy emperors, or whatever, the currency is always fluctuating. People don't like that. They want something that's less volatile. Bitcoin will be less volatile than their own currency. That's going to be the first people that will adopt Bitcoin as a currency, is those people in like El Salvador and all these other countries. So it will be viewed as more stable. And I believe that's going to be what pushes Bitcoin into that next phase of being a worldwide currency. Now, there's a lot of tech risk out there, regulatory risk. Quantum computing could possibly derail the whole thing. There's a lot of policy reversals. We get somebody else in office and they go against Bitcoin for 4 years. So you remember the same thing that Trump did to push cryptocurrency up, the next president can get in there and push it down for 4 to 8 years. That's what most people don't realize, that we can get another president in there and says, hey, I hate crypto. I'm going to go against it for 8 years. That will hold it down for 8 years or maybe 4 years or however long it takes. So you have to be just same thing Trump did positively, another one can do negatively. All these things that happen over a long enough time period, and that's why Bitcoin is not going to go straight up or XRP is not going to go straight up. That's why there's a guy out there saying XRP is going to be 1,000 by next year. That's almost impossible because it never happens that way. Along the way of going to a target, there's always things that pull it down. And that's with every asset. There's always things that's going to pull it down. That means the time, but it looks like you said, well, XRPs went up 8 times in the last 6 months. So in 6 months from now, it'd be up another 8 times. That's not true because along the way, something will happen to drag it down. Then we'll have to recover from that. Then we'll have to continue on this path. So remember, as Bitcoin does have a fixed supply versus infinite money print with our fiat currency. Only 21 million Bitcoin will ever exist. Stands out as in a world drowning in debt and fiat expansion all over the world. Bitcoin is starting to be seen as a way to get away from that. And that scarcity of Bitcoin will continue to drive investors all over the world. Now, the thing about Bitcoin is that I talked to somebody on a plane or something last week, and I was telling the person that Bitcoin is one of the most misunderstood things on the planet even today. People look at Bitcoin and they say, well, what's to stop a person from creating more? It's impossible because the system does not allow it. The math, math is relational, right? So the way Bitcoin is set up, it's relational. So over 21 million Bitcoins cannot exist. It's impossible. That's what makes the system so powerful. It was an elegantly designed system, the most elegantly designed technology that the world has ever seen. And that's the reason why it will continue. It will never be stopped, and it will continue to grow. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Ethereum. Before we do that, please like the video. And also, please, if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. Now, so let's look at some questions. If you want a question, give me a super chat. I'll see it and I'll answer the question. One of a kind, I appreciate it. Beba Dearest, I appreciate it. Ali Tally Extraction, I really appreciate you every time you come through, man. I really appreciate that, AE Tally. I got some tallies I know in Tennessee. I don't know if you're related to them, in Clarksville, Tennessee. We got another one. Appreciate you, my brother, James Benton, at $10. I appreciate you, James. Let's see. We got a lot of subscribers here. I appreciate all you guys. Somebody said, I'll answer this question. Somebody says, when and how will quantum computers disrupt crypto? Well, if quantum computers were realized today and everybody had access to them and they were at their full potential. Remember, we do have quantum computers, but they're not at their full potential yet. So if we had a computer right now, quantum computer, full potential, it could break every single crypto code or password or really private key, and it'd break all of them instantly. Because the way Bitcoin is kept secure is by computing power, that it would take so much computing power to figure these private and public keys out that it would take so long that it's not even worth it. Billions and billions of years because of the way our computers are designed today, classic computers. Quantum computers aren't designed that way. They're designed in different ways, so they go around that time limit and they're able to break every single wallet and clean out all the Bitcoin. So that makes Bitcoin extraordinarily unsafe if they were realized today. But the key here is that technology doesn't develop that way or evolve that way. It evolves alongside each other. As the technology gets better, securities against the technology also get better. Like if I went back to the Civil War and gave them AK-47s, either side, they would win, But that's not how it worked. Over time, we went along a path of development towards the AK-47. And along the path of development, we also developed defenses against AK-47s and tanks and all this anti-tank weapons or whatever. So they devolve along. So by the time we get to the point of where a true quantum computer full potential exists, all of cryptocurrency will be protected against it with quantum encryption or something else to stop it from happening. It never happens like that. So people always say, well, quantum computers are break. Yeah, in theory, but that's not how it happens. You think people are going to sit around and let billions of dollars get stolen out of wallets without putting all of their work into finding a solution? No, it doesn't happen like that. So, thoughts on the future of BBAI? BBAI is going through a downturn right now, but I said earlier is I believe that's a great buying opportunity. I would DCA dollar cost average in if it were me. I'm not telling you what to do, but can you give me a price prediction for HBAR and XLM? I don't follow HBAR and XLM down to the dollar amount, so I can't give you a prediction, but I think both would do extraordinarily well. When you get a minute, what are your thoughts on aviation stock, Archer Aviation? I've always liked Archer Aviation. But I mean, I don't own it, but I like it, and I think it has a lot of potential as well. What do you think about bullish, the new IPO today? Yeah, I mean, bullish, to be honest, and I'm going to put this in the CNC. If you want an easy play, just buy bullish for the next 3 or 4 days because it's going to go up. Where's bullish at right now? So bullish stock it was at $90. Let me see where it's at. It opened at $90 this morning. It's at 68. It got to 80. So it went up 83% today. Like that's an easy play. It's almost like Circle. They keep going up probably for the rest of the week, but you got to be careful because there's going to be a drawdown. That's it. If I was still day trading like I used to, I would buy it bullish in the morning and just wait it out for the next 3 or 4 days. I don't do that no more. But if I were going to do something, I see it's a good potential to ride it and make some money. Unfortunately, there's no options out on it yet. But you could make some money. You could probably double your money in the next 3 days pretty easily, especially with Bitcoin being up, especially with cryptocurrency being hyped right now in a hype cycle, a small hype cycle. Bullish is an easy play more than likely. That's not an official play. If it goes up, I'm not going to say who listened because I'm just saying what I would probably do. So if I don't post it somewhere, I'm not going to say who listened. So let's move on. So Ethereum. Now I talk about XRP a lot, but I've made it clear that Ethereum is my favorite cryptocurrency. That's the first crypto that got me into investing in crypto. That's the first crypto that made me see the world, the unmatched potential of cryptocurrency. That's my favorite one because you could develop on it, you could create tokens, you could create NFTs. That was the one that really, really made me go all in into cryptocurrency in 2015. So that's my biggest holding, right? XRP is not my biggest holding. Ethereum is. Because I got Ethereum way back in the day. And also, I've held it for so long and I got in at $6 for a lot of it. So, by the time I got into XRP, I couldn't accumulate millions and millions of dollars of XRP. Ethereum is my biggest holding. It always has been. Because I got into it so early. So Ethereum has just found this moment, I believe. Now, I said back earlier this year that I thought that Ethereum would reach all-time highs sometime around February. Now, I missed it by 5 months. But what I didn't know were two things that were going to happen. Bybit, in which Ethereum and Ethereum tokens got hacked from Bybit's, from the Bybit exchange. And number two was I didn't know that Trump would get in there and start doing tariffs, which also dragged the market down for a couple of months. So now we're starting to see Ethereum go back to all-time highs. It's about to break its all-time high. All-time high was $4,800, right under $4,900 back in November of 2021, and this is the highest it's been since then. Many out there are saying the momentum is not going to stop and it's going to keep building. I agree with it. A mix of weaker dollar, institutional investor interest, and squeezing the supply on the exchanges, it could set Ethereum back towards that target I had of 8,000 to 12,000 2 years ago. Now, a lot of my predictions seem conservative now. I don't even like saying them no more because I don't say I don't like it, but it's not as much excitement when I say my predictions now. Because they don't sound that out there as they used to, right? When Ethereum was at $1,100, I was saying it was going to 8,000, 10,000, 12,000. It was crazy. When XRP was down into 40 cents, I said it was going to $8. That was, people he's crazy. But now all of these things are starting to come to pass. So it's not as crazy as all I'm asking for is almost a double, less than a double of Ethereum right now. And XRP is a little bit over like 150%. To get to the $8 mark. Now they start to seem conservative. But if you would have gotten at those lower amounts, you'd be way up right now. So I need you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. So Ethereum is starting to be known as the backbone of future financial markets. And I believe that was always Ethereum's point. NFTs and stuff, that was just something that people did for a while. But Ethereum was always meant to be a backbone of future financial networks. That's what it was meant to be. It's not, remember, Bitcoin is a store of value right now. It's going to return to a currency later. XRP is meant to transfer value. Ethereum was never meant for that. That's why when people complained about the gas fees back in the day, it's because Ethereum was being misused back then. We were trading value and stuff. You're not supposed to trade. You can trade value, but it's meant to pay for use of a system. So the gas fees, of course, is going to be a little bit higher fees to use something like that because it's meant to power the system. It's not meant to transfer value as much as something like XRP or Bitcoin. Ethereum is meant to calculate, store data, move data around, smart contracts, oracles, all of these things. DeFi networks, DAOs. It was meant to do these things. And you pay gas to use the system and the gas gets consumed. That's what Ethereum was meant to be. Now, because people are starting to realize that, the simple phrase backbone of future financial markets has helped unlock $1 billion in ETF interest over the last couple of weeks, giving traditional finance a reason to start looking at Ethereum. Ethereum has shocked a lot of people, not me, but shocked a lot of people. It came from the dead. A lot of the kids that said Solana will replace it, a lot of kids said Solana will replace it. And now they're like, what happened? It's because of what I've been saying all along, is that it's a lot of things. I've dedicated my life to predicting financial trends. Predicting technology trends. And I make money off of that. And there's a lot that goes into predicting something that's going to happen in technology. It's not just this is better, so it's going to win. It's a lot more than that. I'm using Microsoft Windows right now on my computer to view this, to monitor this live. Microsoft Windows is not the best operating system by far. Now, if you look at just the best technology-wise, you got Linux. A version of Linux is better. Linux is free. Linux is faster. Linux installs all your auxiliary devices a lot better, and it's a lot cleaner, uses less memory and less resources. But we all use Microsoft Office. Technology, the way that the technology gets adopted is not always what's best. It's a lot that goes into that. I even came up with a theory or a paradox, I should call it, in my new book, Future of Wealth in America, Future of American Wealth, that I'm finishing next week. When I was doing a lot of research, I came up with something I call the shovel paradox. Now, the shovel paradox is something that I came up with. And it's a way that you can describe why some technologies won't get adopted and others will. Now, the shovel paradox works like this. Now, if I have to dig, my pet dies, my dog dies, right? I have to dig a grave for my dog. Now, why would I choose a shovel over a backhoe or go to a machine to dig from, like rent one from Home Depot or whatever? Why do I choose a shovel? Well, at first, because the hole's not that big. I know I can go to Home Depot, buy the backhoe, put in, I could dig it at one scoop and I could put my dog in there. But I could also go to my garage and just do a little work and I can get it done just as fast. Now, as the hole gets bigger and bigger, my decision to go rent a backhoe starts to get big, more and more likely. And eventually I said, well, I got to rent a backhoe. Now, the backhoe, for those of you who don't know, that's like what do you call those things? Like a dirt mover? We call them backhoes in Tennessee. I don't know what they're really called. But I don't know, what is it called? Somebody tell me. But, machines that dig dirt that you drive, the little ones or even the big ones. So why would you choose the shovel? Because the shovel is cheaper, it's faster up into a point, depending on the size of the holes, and you already know how to use the shovel. Now, there's technologies out there that are way better than shovels. Why don't we use it? So just because something is better does not mean it's going to get adopted. There has to be enough of a reason to make somebody change what they're already used to. So if the benefit is not great enough, people will stick to what they had before. Shovel paradox. As long as I can do my work with this shovel, I'll never get that backhoe. Too expensive. I got to learn all this stuff. Even though the technology's better, I'm good with what I have. So something like Ethereum. It's been out longer. That's another part of adoption, is that people are afraid of new technologies like Solana. That's always breaking and slogging up. Now, Ethereum's been out 10 years. Now, people understand Ethereum. People already know Ethereum. There's a lot of applications built on top of Ethereum. It has to be enough of a reason to get them to move to Solana, and it hasn't been that. Solana's not that much better. It's slightly less expensive, but the reason is not big enough to get people to move everything they've been working on for the last 10 years to Solana. That's the reason why Solana is still good. It's still going to do well, but it will never replace Ethereum. Excavator, that's what it is. I guess that's what it is. So Now we're going to talk about some stocks, artificial intelligence, quantum computers, and also we're going to talk about Oklo. Before we do that, DM me the word CNC. Join my private community. Let me put it here in the chat. We're doing extraordinarily well in the community. If you're in the CNC, been making money, drop those money bags. So we launched a brand new app. We have both Apple and iPhone. Brought in a new roster of elite analysts. Last week was our biggest week ever. We have 200 members, 2,000 members now. We're making more money than we ever have before. So we have, like I said, we have 2,000 concurrent members. If you have been learning and making money in the CNC, drop those money bags. Don't wait. I put the link in the chat. Make sure you sign up today because at the end of the month we're raising the price to 147. Right now it's 127. You can get the whole year for $9.97 if you DM me on Instagram, and I'll send you the link. Actually, I'll put it here. So this is not going to be up for long. That's the year package. A lot more cost effective that way. So I want to talk a little bit about XRP. Then we're going to talk about NVIDIA. And then I want to talk a little bit about Oklo and Palantir. So XRP is about to break out, making headlines again, but not for courtroom drama. Major moves in adoption, momentum, and institutional backing are driving the price of XRP and keeping it stable. Price levels are tightening. Legal baggage is almost over. Second half of 2025 it will be, I believe, the breakout moment we've been waiting for with XRP. This could be the last low entry point that you ever see. Legal battles are mostly over. Ripple paid that $50 million settlement to end the case. Most major lawsuits resolved. They got a little bit out there, but not much. XRP is no longer shadowed by legal risk. Institutional demand is growing a lot. XRP's on-demand liquidity system is being used already by banks in Asia, South America, and Europe. Now, the thing I like about XRP is it's the only crypto that's truly being used for what it was designed for. No other crypto on any major scale is being used. It's all speculation. XRP is actually being used already, at least in testing. Enterprise adoption is accelerating. Ripple bought Medico, a $250 million company, to boost custody and asset tokenization. This moves positions Ripple to be a key player in the real world of asset tokenization. XRP is holding above that. Where is it at? Where the heck is XRP? XRP is at 307 now, but it is holding right at that level, which is a good sign going forward. There's a lot of macro tailwinds that could help. Inflation is cooling. The Fed more than likely will cut its rate sometime in the next couple of months. This could push all crypto prices, not just XRP. But the ones showing strength like XRP are going to be especially favored in an environment like that. So I'm really looking forward to how XRP plays out the rest of this year. Now I want to talk a little bit about stocks, tech, and AI. So let's move on. We'll talk a little bit about NVIDIA. So somebody said, hey, Armando, thanks for all the info. It's better to take profits or keep stacking. I don't know what you're talking about. But with crypto, with all the stocks in crypto I'm talking about today, I don't plan on taking profits anytime soon. If I do, it'll be something small, and that will be to invest in something else. I don't think at this point, this is all my opinion, you have to come up with your own exit strategies. My exit strategy, I'm just going to be honest with you, I'm already kind of set in life. So I can do something different than what I could have done, let's say, 10 years ago. You have to think, it has to be up to you. But like me, I'm not selling anything. If I do sell something, it will be either take out a loan, or if I can't take out a loan, I'll sell it. But it will be to invest in something else. I'm not going to sell just for the heck of it, because I believe everything we're talking about, especially in this episode, has a really, really big long-term potential. I don't think any of these stocks or any of these cryptos we're talking about today specifically have any type of downsides over the next 10 years. So I don't believe there's a reason to start selling any of this. So, like I said, this is my personal strategy. You have to come up with your own personal strategy. I don't know where you are in life. You may need to pay off a house, pay off a car. I don't know. You have a kid going into college. So sometimes you have to make decisions based on those events. But I don't believe that anything is ready to sell because I think long term that everything we talk about today, especially, is going to continue to go up. So NVIDIA's story keeps expanding. It was once a chip company. Now it's central to everything AI. Infrastructure is building data centers. We got China back in the loop. We got NVIDIA positioning themselves to be big players in quantum computers. They got earnings coming up, new China revenue deal in place, big tech doubling down on the GPUs. Investors are asking one thing: is NVIDIA going to continue to go up, or will it stop, or will it even retract? Now let's break that down and what's really moving behind the scenes. Now we got earnings in NVIDIA coming up August 27th. Wall Street is expecting a 50% revenue growth. With the China ban, growth could have been 77%. Now China's sales resume. So once we get this earnings that come in on the 27th, I believe they're going to shock the world. And we also have China back in the loop. NVIDIA, both short-term and long-term, has a bright future. Now, somewhere along over the next few years, AI bubble will burst. And then a lot of these stocks that we've been making money on will come down some, like Amazon did in 2000 or whatever. But if you hold it long enough, it will recover fully and it will go past what we saw, the highs we saw before any type of bubble burst. So Trump's China deal changed the game with NVIDIA. It allowed NVIDIA to sell certain chips to China again, but they have to give 15% of the revenue to the U.S. government through tariffs. Some call it smart. A lot of people are angry, but I think that it's good for NVIDIA, but it could be setting a dangerous precedent. Now, it's almost like a gang or the mafia. You can sell in my neighborhood, but you have to give me a cut. I don't really like that long term. I know we got to pay taxes, and that's something totally different, but I think that this is a dangerous precedent. I don't believe that the government should be that deeply involved in business, but that's my opinion. So big tech keeps spending on AI. NVIDIA's largest customers are buying more AI chips, building data centers. That keeps the company's revenue pipeline strong, even with high stock valuations. Now, the hidden catalyst with NVIDIA is quantum computers. Now, NVIDIA is building a quantum computer chip, CUDA-Q, a quantum version of the same software that made it dominant in AI with the rise of ChatGPT and OpenAI. Now, I think that if they place themselves right, them along with Amazon are going to make a lot of money with this new wave of quantum computers that's coming here soon. And I love quantum computers. I love them. My senior exit paper at Austin Peay State University was quantum computers and quantum encryption. So I've been, and like that's what people don't realize about tech is that a lot of things start in theory and then they come to fruition years later. AI was started in theory in 1956 and we built towards what we have today. Quantum computers was conceptualized in the late 90s. And now we have what we see physically today. So nanotechnology will come in the next 5-10 years, and that's going to be another wave of great wealth. But the people who, like I said, the people on the supply side, the people who are the pick and shovel plays normally make the most money in every type of new wave like this. So that's why I think that NVIDIA is a lifetime hold for me. That's why Amazon's a lifetime hold, because I think they're both making very smart moves and positioning themselves to be big players in quantum computers. And together, they're unstoppable. And I know that Amazon is buying NVIDIA chips, but Amazon is also developing their own chips. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, last thing I want to talk about is Palantir. I'm getting a lot of questions about Palantir. So I want to talk about what's going on with Palantir. Now, I always get the question, like, how do you know everything that's going to happen? It's because I dedicated my life to this. That's why. When I was a kid, I would read books about the future. I would read technology books. I would read how stuff, I just loved, I guess, imagining what the future could be. I read books and really novels help you out a lot. If you go back to Star Trek, and I never watched Star Trek, but if you go back to it, a lot of the technology they had back in the 60s and 70s are what we have today. MRIs. They had MRIs. They had handheld devices to communicate. They had a lot of things that we're starting to see come to fruition right now. So a lot of times you can get ideas of where technology is going through fiction. And other times you can get it through research papers or thought exercises. There's a lot of ways you can figure it out, and also learn how cycles, patterns, and trends work. And all that stuff together will give you a clear path, a clear picture on where things are going next. We talked about Cardano already, data. So last thing I want to talk about here, but I need you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and also join the CNC. This is the last week we're going to have the year package at $9.95. So click the link, make sure you sign up. So Palantir is one of the few companies blending real-world government contracts with cutting-edge AI, and it's working. They have a platform called AIP, Artificial Intelligence Platform, being adopted at record speed. Commercial revenue is booming, and the stock is near all-time highs. Valuation is stretched, but is there still room for Palantir to grow? Now, what gets me very angry with Palantir is that I called out Palantir at $6. I said it would go to 100. We're well past that now, almost at 200. So back when I was $6, nobody said nothing. There was no, nobody said anything negative or positive. It just was there. As Palantir grew to $50, $60, $70, $80, $100, now it's the same company it was before. All of a sudden you get hate messages. I can't believe you support Palantir and they're killing kids. I can't believe that you support Palantir and they're I don't even know what the anti-Israel, whatever, I don't know what it is. Or they're for Israel, that's it. I can't believe you support Palantir. And they have an office in Tel Aviv. And the people who talk like this, they're being manipulated, controlled by the masses, the media. Because for one of all, every tech company in the world has an office in Tel Aviv. I mean, that's maybe somebody's never left the United States. There's a bigger world outside. And every capital of every country in the world has an office of major companies. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. It just means that they're there. Secondly, is that who do you think when the G7 countries all over the world develop missiles, when they develop this missile, do you think that they develop their own chips, their own processors, their own memory, their own screens, displays, propulsion mechanisms? No, they bought off the shelf. And they use NVIDIA chips, AMD chips, ARM chips. They use Microsoft. They have a version of Microsoft for devices that don't use a lot of memory. They use that. Now, why would they develop their own? So just because they choose to use this technology does not mean that the technology is complicit in what they're doing. Just because a company, Microsoft, gets 10 times more money from the U.S. military than Palantir. Oracle gets 4 times more. Amazon gets a lot of money from the U.S. government military. That doesn't mean Amazon's complicit in whatever you think the U.S. is doing or whatever any other country is doing. They have contracts and they sell, because just like everything else, soap and batteries and toothbrushes and clothes and socks, all of these things are bought for each country to run its military. That doesn't mean that each one of these suppliers or vendors are complicit. It just means that they're supplying. And they can also supply a lot more. Like, for example, Palantir's revenue is 70% revenue from corporations, 30% from the government. So I still think I'm going to hold that. With that being said, I'm holding Palantir for the rest of my life, unless I say 10 years, unless something else changes. I think Palantir has one of those stocks has potential to get to 1,000 from where it's at today, which doesn't seem like that much, but it can go up a lot. The AIP, what we just talked about, is fueling massive growth. Palantir's AI platform helps big clients use their data to make decisions and automate processes. Clients are building custom software directly on top of their platform, making it more than just another one of these AI tools. Commercial and government deals are both surging. Revenue has jumped 48% last quarter, over $1 billion. U.S. commercial sales are up almost 100%. Palantir locked in a 10-year deal with the government. We talked about that. Word of mouth model. Palantir spends very little money on ads and marketing. They do well with one company and they let the company spread the word. Customers who use the product tell others, and that's what's driving their new business. They don't even have to spend a lot on marketing. But the problem is the valuation is sky high. Stocks trading at 132 times sales, 277 times forward earnings, very expensive by almost any standard. Some investors are scared, but if you compare it to an early Amazon, people were scared too. So it could be one of those situations. I don't know the answer to that. I think long-term Palantir is okay. I don't know what's going to happen short-term. It could continue to go up. It could be a drawdown, but you have to expect those things to happen. Long-term is strong. Strong long-term growth. Revenue forecast growing at year over year. AIP keeps expanding across multiple industries. So one day I believe the price will catch up to what they're doing. Last thing I want to talk about is Oklo. Getting a lot of questions about that. We called it Oklo at 6. Got up to 86 this week, I believe. So Oklo stock has skyrocketed 900% in the last year, driven by hype, nuclear innovation, and Sam Altman's being connected. But they don't have any revenue. They have a lot of losses, and they also have a sky-high valuation. If you look at their numbers, it doesn't make sense how much Oklo is selling for. But the potential of nuclear energy is another thing. Some people say it's overhyped, but I don't believe that. Big tech, they have big tech ties, big ideas. Oklo builds micro reactors, small nuclear units that can power remote areas and data centers. It got a lot of attention early because of Sam Altman. He's helping to lead the company. Massive gains, but no revenue. The company's up 900% a year, but hasn't made $1 yet. Now, this is common with a lot of tech companies, so it doesn't really scare me as much because it's a common business model. But you have to watch it carefully because the first revenue should come in 2027 from a reactor in Idaho. Now, that could be an inflection point, is when it's time to report those earnings from that reactor in Idaho sometime at the third or fourth quarter of next year. If that comes back bad, then yeah, it's going to crash. If it comes back good, it's going to go to the sky. So for the next 3 to 4 quarters, there is something on the horizon, and you just have to be careful. I still think it's going to 100, but it could be some choppy water after 100. The tech is strong, but the financials are weak. The microreactors can run up to 10 years without refueling, and they can recycle their own fuel in a closed loop. But they are burning a lot of cash, $64 million per year. And they only have 90 million left. So that means Oklo has to make money with that reactor in Idaho. If they don't, the entire business model falls because they don't have enough money on hand to run another 2 years if they don't raise capital fast. But that being said, I like the risk of Oklo. Like I said, if you got in at $6, that could be a play that can get to 1,000. You got in at 6, change your life forever. It's worth the money. And if you got in at 6, you could take a 50% drawdown, like me. So I'm okay with it, but it depends on where you're at. A lot of people say it's priced like a meme stock. I don't believe that. It trades at 900 times its future revenue projections, 250 times its sales estimates. Now the market opportunity is real. If that reactor does work out in Idaho, it's going to shoot Oklo to the sky. But the risk is that it may not work, or the whole market may not grow. Now, sometimes with technology, just because something is better than other technologies, sometimes it just fails. People don't like it. People don't adopt it, or something better comes along. So, but all this is driven by AI, quantum computers, and humanoid robotics energy demands, and also green energy goals. But there's 2 others out. There's a more stable play out there, NuScale, because it's a lower valuation. At this point, for the next, let's say, 6 months, NuScale is probably a better risk versus reward play than Oklo because Oklo rose so fast. Now, I'm not selling my Oklo, but NuScale has the potential to double or triple there soon. And Oklo is kind of already kind of topped out for the short term. I'm not saying one's better than the other one. You got to remember, a lot of this stuff is in context, in the environment. It's hard to, a lot of people just want to hear which one's better. There's no clear answer. New scale is better short term if you are going for risk versus reward ratio. Oklo is probably better long term if you're going for max cap, max return. That's the, but is no better or worse one. You have to figure out what you're trading. That's what we do in the CNC. We teach you all of these things so that you can position yourself to make the right moves. So I need you guys, if you're not following me, please subscribe to the channel. Also drop a like. Did you read my super chat below? Do you still like Pro to break out? I still like Proppy. I still think it's going to break out once we get retail investors in the cryptocurrency sometime third quarter. We're in the third quarter now, but sometime in the third quarter. So that being said, I hope you guys have a great night. Appreciate you, and join us next Wednesday.